Hey Merch, I started a business and I need clients. I have no network of business owners right now. I am just cold calling. So what do you two suggest for someone who starts a B2B business?
Good question. If you're cold calling, I think you're wasting your time. Where your time would be better spent is if you invested your time and your money into building your social media platforms and creating content that would answer questions that came up frequently when it came to your business. So for example, Merge was really Merge's first client. So at the beginning, back up 2 years ago, we invested all our time and money into building our social media platforms. One, when it came to growing our audience, and two, when it came to creating content that we could use to answer questions that came up frequently about our business. Fast forward 2 years, all of our work now actually has to do with taking care of our current clients, because making sure that existing relationships last longer is a lot easier than finding new business. And the other side of our time when it comes to finding new clients is actually auditing the new leads that come in. Some would call that luck, but I think it's a lot of preparation and planning and delayed gratification by investing your time into setting up systems and social media platforms with strong content and social proof to help bring in new clients and optimize converting the ones that do come in. These inbound leads come from referrals from past or current clients, or from organic viewership from the content that we create on our YouTube or Instagram. I think that's pretty cool. From our own experience, social media helps automate the sales process and build trust simultaneously. In the last 3 months that we've really focused on our YouTube channel, we've already brought in a couple leads and one client that we've closed, which has been amazing. And that proof of concept really shows that we have to continue to make valuable content on our YouTube channel. So if you've not already, please make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel for our weekly videos. So when it comes to my coffee, right? I always like to drink it black, and I always like to put ice in it. Can you help us hack the YouTube algorithm? Make sure you hit that thumbs up button below. Thank you. But when it comes to social media marketing, let's go through 3 simple steps that you can start right now to help propel your business to the next level. The first step that I want you to focus on is figuring out where your clients are. What platform are they using? The biggest mistake that I see with the companies that I've worked with internally as well as externally if they're a client is that they try to focus on too many platforms at once. You guys have heard of the phrase of jack of all trades, master of none. This is the similar concept. You have to figure out what platform your clients are on and really spend your time focusing on mastering and learning the language of that social media platform. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, all of these different platforms have different languages. You really have to deep dive into the platform that you want to be on and understand the kind of dialect and the language that people use in that certain platform. So for example, let's say you're on LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn is mostly for B2B businesses, and people are on there if they're in a business mindset. So the kind of content that you create and the language you use and the captions or the description have to meet that type of audience. For example, like a direct-to-consumer product, a B2C business, let's say it's a clothing brand that's focused on e-commerce sales. You want to jump on Instagram and really learn the language of how people interact there. Instagram is a lot more, I'd say a lot more tangible of a platform because you can really interact directly with your client base, which is awesome for a B2C business. Something that takes a more professional side of things, like a B2B business, I would really focus your time on either YouTube or LinkedIn because those are platforms that you can speak more at length and more in detail about what exactly you do for other businesses. Remember this, jack of all trades, master of none. Pick 1 or 2 platforms that you really want to understand and deep dive into. Spend a lot of time consuming content, see what works, see what doesn't work, and then cater it and specialize it to the kind of content that you want to create for your brand. Comment below what social media platform you need to master to help propel your business to the next level. We're going to pause for a bit because there's a fire truck in the back. Once you figure out what platforms your clients are on, you really have to spend time understanding what your demographic is. What are their interests? What kind of content could you create that would be valuable to them? I want you to detach yourself from your brand. Think about it from a third-person perspective, okay? Let's say that you started a luxury streetwear brand. What kind of interests around that would be interesting for your clients? So let's say these are one of our clients. I would say you should make content that revolves around hip-hop culture, basketball culture, and high-end luxury fashion museums and pop-ups because that, I believe, would be the interest of someone who would want to buy a piece of luxury streetwear. On the same note, you can also bring it back to your own identity and understand what kind of topics interest you. Because if you're starting a luxury streetwear brand, it probably happens that the interests that you have is very similar to the interest that your audience has, ironically. When you find enjoyment in creating these kinds of topics, creating the content will be a lot easier. In the past, when I've created different kinds of content, I found that creating content and speaking about topics that I really care about were a lot easier and easier to sustain over the long term, because we're in this for the long game, right? And another common mistake that I see is a lot of people who want to create content are hesitant to do so because of, they say, I don't have the right gear, or I'm not sure if I'm an expert in this yet. But I think the best way to learn and get better at creating content is really trying to do it and learning as you go. So for example, when I look at our old YouTube videos, and we've been really focusing on YouTube for, I'd say 3 months now, I see that I do a lot of cuts because in my mind, it's better for my audience to see when it's just pieces of value right after another. But with that, it becomes kind of robotic and I lose the sense of personalization and really talking to you. And I think that's just as important as having continuous value. But the thing is, I wouldn't have learned that if I just read and watched and listened. I had to actually do and execute and create these videos and then analyze what parts that I could improve myself. After you understand where your clientele is, what platforms to focus on, what kind of content you want to make, then the most important step number 3, is you actually have to sell something.
The Investor Center. Yeah, thanks a lot, man. Bye-bye.
It's a pretty simple concept, right? But I see far too frequently people forget this aspect. A lot of people build their audience. A lot of people have millions of followers on YouTube and Instagram combined, but they forget the main reason why they should be using social media if they're not purely a creator on YouTube. You have to use social media to propel your business. You have to use social media to build whatever projects you're working on. Social media is great, but only if you use it as a tool to leverage whatever you're working on. Now, when I say you have to sell something, I'm not trying to say you have to be spammy or you have to, shove your product or service down someone's throat. What I'm saying is, as you build your social media following, as you focus on creating content for your platforms, you still have to remind your audience what it is that you do. You don't have to sell in every single piece of content that you create. And actually, I would recommend that you only sell, I'd say, 10 to 20% of the time when it comes to your content. What you should really focus on is building that trust, building your audience, building your social proof. But don't forget to once in a while do that right hook and actually sell.
Well, you question the R200's power!
Remind people of what it is that you actually do and make sure they know where to go if they're looking for your type of service. For example, we have a really good friend who lives in Tokyo right now. He's one of the biggest influencers, Asian influencers in Tokyo. He has millions of followers, but we had a conversation the other day about how it is so difficult for him to monetize his audience besides AdSense. AdSense being the money that YouTube pays that creator. YouTube AdSense money is great, but that should only be a supplemental piece of income after your main piece of business.
Over $103,000 in 30 days.
For example, let's say Merge grows our channel to 10,000 subscribers. I think that our business as a whole will be able to make more money than a lot of channels that are at million, 2 million, because we have a business outside of YouTube. Building your audience and having a large amount of followers is awesome, but you have to understand what proper ways that you can leverage that towards your actual business. So when we had our conversation, his response was, but I don't want to sell out. I don't want to monetize my audience because then they'll hate me, right? So if you're just creating a t-shirt with your logo pasted on it, there might be some intrinsic value in it because they are huge supporters of you. But I want you to take the next step and understand what kind of products or services you can create that will benefit your user and make their lives better. Being afraid to sell using social media is definitely the wrong mindset, but you need to be able to pay your rent and you need to be able to propel your business to the next level. So there comes a fine balance. You want to build a strong relationship with your audience, but you also want to have the opportunity to make this creation your living. Those that are consuming social media for pleasure are wasting their time, and those that are leveraging social media as a tool to propel their business are winning. Personally, I don't use social media for pleasure unless it's for sports highlights or funny memes. But when I am on social media, it's for business, purely business. And it happens to be a byproduct that I get to help thousands of people at the same time. That's pretty dope. I'm looking at social media purely from the standpoint of how to automate and systemize our business, period. When it comes to automation, you have to think about what kind of content you can create. The kind of content that we aim to create is usually answering videos or answering posts or captions. We figure out what kind of questions we get from our audience and our prospective clients, and then we make videos or caption posts that answer directly these kinds of questions. That way, when I have conversations with any new client, current client, or one of our audience members, I can skip all of that fluff and have detailed conversations about their brand specifically. So you really have to think about that. What is your intent about social media marketing? What is the desired outcome you have when it comes to social media marketing? Are you just posting on social media to get likes? That's a waste of your time. You really have to focus on the intent and your desired outcome. Figure out, why am I posting and what benefit will this give my business? I actually have some more rapid fire tips for you, but first I want to review these 3 steps before we move on. Number 1, figure out where your clients are on. Pick 1 or 2 platforms and master it. 2, figure out the interests of your client and your potential audience. What kind of content could you create that would give them value? And number 3, you have to sell. Remind your audience what exactly it is that you do. If you watch to this point, I'm going to reward you with some extra tips and strategies that we implement when it comes to social media marketing and business in general. If you have any questions or want us to make a fuller video about any of these points, please make sure you comment below which of these points you find interesting. So these are unique ways that we brought in more clients and customers when we first started using social media marketing. So the first tip is to partner with non-competitors in your niche. At the beginning, we used to partner with large meme pages in the entrepreneurial space to repost our content, and in turn, I would give my business consulting about how they could generate more revenue leveraging their social media profiles and platforms. They would give us shout outs and explain to their audience what it is that we did, and in return, I would help them make more money and save time. The second quick fire tip is to go on Craigslist. Search jobs, write a template email that you can use, and under the jobs, write exactly what your agency does. Explain to them your point and why you are a better solution than whatever they are looking for. Tip number 3 is email marketing has the highest conversion rate. At times, as you grow your social media platforms, drive people off of these platforms and generate your email list. Even if all these platforms die, email marketing is something that you can hold on to for the rest of your career. Tip number 4, we briefly talked about this above, focus on long-term partnerships. When you have the opportunity to work with amazing clients, focus on those clients instead of focusing on bringing new business out of nowhere. For example, let's say as a business you have $2,000 ad spend to acquire new customers. Keep $1,000 towards marketing to get new customers, but spend $1,000 towards retaining and nurturing the relationships that you already have. In business terms, that's LTV, lifetime value of a customer, versus the CAC, which is the cost of customer acquisition. Your LTV can many times be more valuable than your CAC. Tip number 5 is something we really focused on a year ago, which is planning for scale. You know your business is going to succeed. You know where you want to be in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. So set up systems, set up potential teams that you'll implement into your ecosystem that'll help you keep the quality as you bring in more volume of clients. Your quality is imperative and it cannot deter at all as you grow. Tip number 6 is asking the right questions. A big problem that I see when it comes to B2B businesses is that they don't ask questions. They just have a one-size-fits-all solution. They don't even know what kind of problems that business that they're potentially working with has. You have to ask the right questions because these right questions will help you come up with the exact solution that will help the business or your future client the best to your capabilities. From our experience with working with clients in so many different spaces, these are the key takeaways that we've seen when it comes to running a successful B2B business and leveraging social media marketing correctly. Take note of these because these are pretty simple. The 2 Instagram profiles that I want to highlight this week are @thechetco and @StevieSelly. The Chetco is a cinematographer in Los Angeles, and I love the way that his grid is laid out and especially his story, so make sure you go check him out. The second Instagram profile I've been following for a long time, it's @StevieSelly. I actually found him when I started my dunk journey and wanted to really jump higher. I love the kind of posts that he does, but more important than his posts, I love how he caters to his audience and really speaks directly to every single viewer. Remember, we're shouting out 2 Instagram profiles every single week. All you have to do is comment your handle below so we can look at it and then describe in 1 sentence what exactly you use social media for when it comes to building your business. Make sure you subscribe by clicking this black circle right here for weekly videos about content marketing and social media. If you want to start growing and building your social media, click this playlist right here and select any videos that interest you. Any questions that you have about these videos, make sure you comment them because we answer every single one.